Welcome to the Spirited Agent Podcast. We're pouring wisdom and sipping success one episode at a time. The Spirited Agent was created to empower agents to navigate the ever-evolving world of insurance and grow their business. Grab your glass and let's get inspired to protect your clients from the unknown. Here's your hosts, Millennium Brokerage Group Legacy Planning Executives, Jason Combs and Matt Zelenik.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Spirited Agent. So today, no special guests. So if you're not a fan of Jason and I, just go ahead and hop off right now. But to make it a little more interesting, we are going to be doing some more drinking today. With it being the holidays, I thought I'd bring my green bottle lineup. So here today, I've got some Michter Ryes. And Michter's, I know all you've been wondering, Matt, what's your favorite drink? It's actually these right here. So Michter's is my favorite distiller, specifically their ryes. They're really well known for their ryes. Their bourbons are great too. But today here we have in the middle, the Michter's 10-year rye. On the side over here, we have the barrel strength rye, and then we have the toasted barrel strength rye. So I think as the episode goes on, we're going to start with one of them. But I think as the episode goes on, we'll taste the other two and give some notes. Probably the smartest one to start off with would actually be the 10-year rye, even though it's technically the nicest. But it's a 94 proof, I believe. The other two are a little higher, so I don't want to wash out the 94. Cheers.
Cheers. You definitely pick up a lot of the rye.
Yeah, it's very rye forward. To me, it's pretty smooth. I've started drinking a lot more rye lately. Yeah. But very rye forward, a little peppery off the bat. But like a nice caramel-y, almost like a marshmallowy.
It does finish very smooth.
So, at Millennium, our main business model here is to, help agents and make life insurance, and that's annuities and long-term care and disability as well, a significant asset in their business, increase revenue through that. So if you were an agent today, how would you go about utilizing that?
The one thing that is extremely important in this business is trust. And so if you have an agency now, chances are that you already have the trust of your customers. If you look at life insurance, that's really the pinnacle of trust. That family is putting the trust in you to handle the transition of their lifelong work to the next generation. The first step that you have to believe in the products that you are representing to your customers. And then I think the second thing you got to do is you've got to establish the why. Why does it make sense for your business? It's not going to be easy, so you're going to be presented with some challenges. And if you have a strong why, that will help you get through some of those challenges in the marketplace. And so retention of your book of business is probably the number one thing. Multi-lining your customer, we all know that increases your retentions. In today's marketplace, this property and casualty insurance industry is getting hard. Companies are pulling out of the marketplace. Premiums are going up. There's a lot of challenges in that space. So you actually could possibly lose the property or the casualty business from a customer. But if you have your life insurance, you still have them as a customer. I've been in this business now for 25 plus years. 20 years ago, I heard the average age of an insurance agent was 55 years old. You've got to help the younger agents be successful in the marketplace. Getting some of your younger agents more involved in other lines of your business gives them an opportunity to increase their revenue, do more things, more accounts and more responsibility with your agency, but you're giving them a path to make that revenue while they're transitioning to handle more things. The other thing I have in this category is setting goals. And this should not be a 1-year plan. This needs to be a plan that you can put in place that's a 3 to 5 year plan with very specific goals attached to it. And the agents that we have seen that kind of take that on are the ones that are most successful, and they're able to build up a business that's generating significant revenue. And it takes a little time. I mean, if you have a 5-year commitment, you could grow life insurance to be 10% of the premium that you're writing on the property and casualty insurance side, and that could be a significant revenue source for you that gives you resources to do other things.
I think we're at a good place to move into a second bottle here.
Absolutely.
So I think a good transition would be to go over here to the barrel strength rye. So not quite aged as long as the 10-year, but it should be a step up in proof here.
Sure.
So this one's about, I think it's 110.
It smells a little sweeter.
Yeah, it does smell a little sweeter, actually. It's weird. You'd think the 10-year would be pretty similar flavor profile, just a little stronger.
Yeah.
I feel like
a little more taste profile on the back end.
Yeah. I think there's a little of that ethanol kick there at the back end probably as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the 10-year is a little smoother, obviously. I mean, I've taken quite a few sips of all of these in the past.
So why do you
I'm
think?
Pretty sure we're getting to my favorite last,
No,
but it's good. I've never done all three of them together, so this is interesting.
Got it.
I would prefer the 10-year over the barrel strength, although the barrel strength is great.
Yeah.
Where are you at so far?
The challenge I have, just to be honest, is I like it all.
Yeah.
So
I understand.
Yeah,
very few bottles I drink and don't like.
Correct. So I've had the Michters before. It's always been great. So yeah, the rye. Haven't been historically a big fan of the rye like you have been, but yeah, it definitely finishes well, and it's got some good taste to it. So yeah, it kind of depends on what kind of mood you're in, I think.
We've got some agencies that have kind of committed to really pushing their life and that side of the business, and they're really committing time, resources, and spent at least 3 to 5 years pushing this as a part of their business. What are you seeing that they're doing to push this side of the business and has made them success and brought them in more revenue?
They really promote the education of the products. And every time I'm talking to them or every interaction I have, it's always, we can't educate our customers fast enough. They actually partner with, property and casualty insurance agents, and they market what they do through their customers that these agencies have. But they're always taking an educational approach. And when I sit back or I step back and I think, all right, why is that working for people? Life insurance is sold, it's not purchased. So you've got to talk to customers about why they need it. The big things in the marketplace is everybody thinks it's just death insurance. It's failure to survive. It's just passing to the next generation, which is true, but no one thinks about what they can do with it while they're still living. It is an asset that you hold, and there are things that you can do with that asset, or things that allow you, if you have the insurance, allow you to do other things that may benefit you more, and we can get into some of that as we progress.
Yeah, I think, and you may want to talk on this briefly, but I don't think people realize the freedom that insurance can bring, because everybody sees that it's you pass away, you get death benefit.
Sure.
But I mean, we were talking before we started about covering loans and all the other freedom items that can come with life insurance and what it can be used to help you in other areas of your life, just besides, death insurance, basically.
You may own a lot of assets, but when you die, assets may have to be sold to transition into, because there's costs associated with death. I mean, you may have to pay back some loans that are outstanding. There could be there's some transfer tax, and a lot of people don't take tax into consideration. But if you have a big portfolio in, say, like an IRA, when you die, there's tax due on the entire thing. And there are no write-offs against that. That's considered income in respect to the decedent, and there is absolutely no write-offs on any IRA assets that you pass to the next generation. So life insurance gives you a lot of liquidity. Let's say you're a business owner and you have this business. It's a big part of your, most business owners, their business is a big part of their net worth. Well, if you're going to pass that on to the next generation, or there's liquidity needs that your beneficiaries are going to have in order to continue that business to the next generation. So there's a lot of ancillary benefits that life insurance can do. You may have to buy out a business partner in that transition, or different things of that nature. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in the type of planning that you can do for your family, and making sure that they get the full value of the assets that you intend them to get.
So I think most people are aware of the basics of how life insurance works, but I don't think people know some of their living benefits that are available on policies out there, and how they can be utilized throughout your life before you pass away. So
if you have a life insurance policy, you actually have the ability to loan against that policy. So it is considered an asset. And anytime you have an asset, you can use that asset as collateral to get a loan. And so the life insurance company that you have your insurance policy through will actually loan you their money. And that in of itself is a kind of a misconception. Most people, if they do understand they can take a loan against their policy, they always think they're taking it out of their own policy. That's absolutely not correct. You actually take the insurance company's money. You're loaning against the insurance company. Now, the insurance company is going to charge you to take a loan, but those loan rates are actually set at the time of the policy issue. So most of the carriers that we represent, a loan rate from the insurance company after 10 years in the policy is right at 3%. And so if you look at the marketplace today, I mean, other assets that you could go take a loan against would be like your home. You could always do a home equity line, right? Or a home equity loan. That typically it's typically a variable rate. So, may be good in a time frame where rates are low, but like right now where rates are up a little bit, you may be looking at a 7% interest rate. Having this option of, this other asset that you could get a loan against when you know what the interest rate is up front. So we can go in, we can get a loan at 3%. And the key is if you've got cash value, your policy has equity. That cash value inside of your life insurance policy is still earning interest. And that's the piece that most people don't understand. And so most policies today, they're either tied to an index account or you may have a variable policy that is actually invested in the market, or you have a fixed interest bearing product, all of which are very, very good products if you understand them correctly. But your money stays in there. Let's say you're in an index account, which means that you go up with the market, like the S&P 500 index, to a cap. So most caps right around 10%, but you're protected on the downside. So you get a loan at a 3% interest rate, but your money stays in the index account. If the market goes up, you're earning as much as 10% on that money. So you have positive arbitrage. So your money is actually earning more than the interest that you're being charged. So at death, you repay the insurance company the loan that you took out, and whatever's left goes to your family. It's really that easy.
I asked you a little bit ago, what are those agencies that are really successful doing, or what have they committed to? And we kind of came to the conclusion they're educating. What does that education look like to their customer base? Is that in person? Are they hosting webinars? With the age we're in nowadays with the internet, there's a lot of ways to educate people, but we've noticed some trends in what's actually working for people.
It's a commitment to do it. For one, you got to be committed to it. The agents that are very successful in this, they keep a narrow scope of what it is they're trying to educate. And not saying that scope can never change, but the tendency for most people is to take on a broad range of topics. And that becomes very, very difficult. They understand what topics generate the best opportunities for them, and that's what they focus in on. One of our customers, they run 4 events per year. I don't think you want to try to do too many, but you want to do it enough. They put it out as managing the blind spots in retirement. 1 is market volatility. 2 is healthcare. 3 is taxation, and 4 is longevity. You're going to market out these events in a way, even if the people that attend your events don't turn into buying customers, you're still putting out in the world that you specialize in these things. Let's say Matt, he just gets the email that I'm doing these things because the fact that I'm doing them, puts me in a position that I have some expertise. And he may be having lunch with another person that says, hey, yeah, heard about this long-term care thing. I don't know much about it. I say, hey, well, you may want to talk to my guy because he's doing these educational events all year. You're inviting people to these events. Let's say you got 3 touches before the event, and then we do 3 post-event touches as well. And the post-event touches, we use educational material. In our industry, white papers, industry articles, we've got all kinds of resources. You're not only educating your customers, but you're also educating your staff at your agency. And next thing you know, they're out there talking to their customers about these things.
Well, we've all been on carrier calls and product training information. I mean, the carriers have been doing product training forever.
Right.
And I mean, they will continue to do it forever as long as there's insurance products in the marketplace. And this is a good way to get that done for your agents and your agency without actually having to plan those specific things. You're doing it for your customers, but also you're keeping it fresh on everybody in your agency's mind.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a killing two birds with one stone scenario there.
Absolutely. If you do 3 events a year, you got 3 pre-meeting invites and 3 post things. You know, that's 6 per event. You do 3 of them. That's 18. That's 18 touches a year. We've been doing it. You know, Matt and I do an educational series with one of our best customers, which is the American Medical Association, which touches doctors across the entire country.
And we do 4 events a year.
4 events per year. And we've got it now to where, you know, we do long-term care every November.
Right.
Yeah. And we do taxation
in the spring.
April.
Yeah.
Right around tax season. And we kind of mix
the
up.
The other two, we kind of mix in.
We kind of mix up. We do a disability one there as well. So
you don't have to go out and start reinventing the wheel and every single event you host, bringing something new. That's probably actually the worst thing I think you could do.
Correct.
Because insurance is confusing. I mean, we're in the industry. I'm confused pretty much on a daily basis on what's going on. I like how you said, you know, pick 2. You started with 1, but 2 overarching topics for the year, and don't be afraid to repeat it the next year.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure if you send out an invite to an in-person meeting or a webinar, you're not getting your entire customer base on there. So it's okay to repeat something again.
People have to hear things 8 times before it truly resonates with them.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that.
And that goes back to what I kind of said earlier. You know, a big challenge we have in this marketplace is there's so many things we can talk about. What we have found that really works is to pick those topics and you dive deep into it and you stay repetitive. You want to get into one of these other bourbons here?
Sure.
What do you got next?
So it's the Michter's barrel strength rye, and it's toasted. So they take the normal barrel strength and then they put it in a lightly toasted barrel to finish it off. The last podcast, we talked about how finishing bourbons has become a big deal. We had a rum cask on the last one. So if I remember correctly, this is my favorite of the 3. But like I said, I've never had 3 back to back. So it tastes a lot like that one, but with a little extra oakiness. A little toasted always has, you hear, marshmallow flavors. So let's see. A completely different profile, a little bit from the other 2.
Got a lot more taste.
A lot more taste. I think it smooths out the rye spice a little bit. You get I guess I've drank enough toasted now that I feel that toasted profile early on. Kind of a vanilla-y, marshmallow-y, oaky smoothness off the bat.
It hangs with you for a little while longer.
The finish is a little longer as
well.
It
does, yeah.
All right, so you just talked about, you know, how if you were an agency, you would host these educational events, whether that be like a webinar or in person. I think a combination of the 2 is good if you can. We've done these for the American Medical Association. You want to just touch briefly on, like, you know, what our process is there with the American Medical Association and how we do these educational events?
We usually kick this off obviously in January. Then the next step really is to pick the exact dates. And, you know, it is kind of a date driven thing. We try to target right around right after April 15th for the first one. So we pick a date that works for everybody. We already have these presentations built. So, you know, we've been using pretty much, like I said earlier, you can make small changes to it as market conditions change, interest rates change, different things change. We have the PowerPoint presentations. We have the presentations built. Right. And we have those compliant approved. So we send them through and if you have a broker dealer, you know, we can work with your broker dealer to get your broker dealer to approve, or whatever entity you need to get compliance approval from. We can work with those people and get it done for you. We get a date and then we really kind of work backwards from that date. So it's really, I would say 2 months, so 8 weeks prior to the event, we finalize the invitation. With the AMA, we do webinars. Now, we can do these in person or we can do them, you know, through the internet. We actually have one customer that actually so one of the concepts we have here is we do one of our presentations twice in a short period of time. So we may do a live event on a Tuesday and then follow up on the following Thursday with a webinar. And so you're giving people choices so you can kind of lay that out there in a way that makes sense. And this is all things we can work through and we can help you out. So with the person that we're doing it with, we have an every other week call, but you got to start laying out who's responsible for what.
And we've touched on this podcast multiple times. Like, you don't have to be the expert at everything.
Right.
So if we're doing 4 events in a year, like in this past year, you've presented one, I've presented one. A person from the AMA has been the moderator, and we've done a few kind of panelists. If you're going to do educational events, whether it be in person or in a webinar, you don't have to be the center of attention for every event. I mean, we brought in outside resources,
right,
from carriers to experts.
Sure.
And we almost make a point of it to not have the same person back to back.
Right.
You don't have to be responsible for doing these all yourself.
You got to have, an agreement with the person you're doing with on who's going to do what. You don't want your presenter also running the slideshow or whatever. So you got to have somebody kind of doing that. Well, our commitment out to our audience is we do the educational event in the time that we say we're going to do it. But we also say we'll stick around and answer questions that our audience has, as long as the audience wants to ask questions. We have somebody that answers, asks the questions. So if you're in a webinar setting, you got to have somebody repeat the questions, or even if you're in person, you want to have somebody that's working kind of the crowd, making sure your questions are answered. We have artificial intelligence that actually record the session.
Yep. You can have note takers.
And they have a complete note taking thing. Anybody that answers any questions, that's all recorded. And we've also found that giving the people the ability to ask a question prior to the event is actually a really, really cool thing too. So, we put an event together in the registration process. We just leave a space that says, do you have any questions about the webinar that we're doing? And we get people in there saying, yeah, we want to buy some insurance next week. Can you have somebody give us a call? So, there are some very specific questions, very specific needs that come out in these type of things.
You don't have to get these down perfect the first time, but if you start doing them, you learn a lot as you go on. So for example, we've been doing with the AMA, we know that 5 o'clock or 5:30 is pretty much the best time for us to do it, because a lot of the physicians are finishing up practice for the day, finishing up surgeries. That's the window when they get off of work, but they haven't gone into relaxation mode. So we set most of our stuff up at 5, and that's when we've been able to get the most amount of attendees to our webinars. And so you learn things like that over time. You may find that for your market and your clients, a lunch and learn is best.
Have fun with it. It doesn't have to be this, doesn't have to be a lot of facts. It doesn't have to be a lot of figures. What we have found, it doesn't even have to be an advanced topic. It's just getting people out together, talking about what it is that's on their mind, and providing a little support to them. And it doesn't have to be a stressful type of environment. It could be something that's very enjoyable, but take that educational approach to it. I think the educational approach is key. Don't put a hard sell on people. Just educate them on the things that they need to watch out for and how to maybe address some of that, and your ability in the agency that you have in your local communities to help people manage through some of that stuff, and you'll be in a good position.
And I think what we talked about is kind of, an old school approach, connect with people, and that's how insurance gets sold. But also don't be afraid to use technology, mainly on the follow-up side, I would say.
Right.
We record. That's another touch point on the follow-up. You send out the recording with a little message. Hey, sorry we missed you at the event. Here's the recording. If you have any questions, please reach out to us.
And you can have people register to get the recording. So that allows you to know who's coming in. We usually get another 10% of people that actually don't show up for the event, but they actually log in.
Yeah, you can set it. I mean, you could set it up to say, hey, I can't attend, but I would love to receive the recording, immediately post event.
Even if people don't attend, you're still putting it out there that you have some level of expertise in that field. It may be somebody that attended one of our events 2 or 3 years ago that comes back now and saying, hey, look, I heard you guys do this deal 2-3 years ago. Now I'm coming back and I want more information. So it not necessarily an immediate thing, but it can carry out for a period of time.
In years past, you could dial for dollars. You could say, I've got X amount of calls and that brings in X amount of revenue. But marketing these days has kind of shifted to more sharing it with people. So you really don't you really can't know the value of everything you're doing because it's kind of being, shared via Instagram. Like somebody's like you and I were out at dinner together and we would say, hey, I just went to this event with so-and-so agency. I know you were talking about this issue you got going on. Things kind of trickle in and we can't exactly tie it to an event we did, but because we're doing them, I mean, we can probably pretty confidently say, hey, this might have come from that.
If you're not doing it, you're not going to get any of the business. But if you are doing it, it can be something that can really drive a significant amount of business for you.
What do we do from a follow-up standpoint? And there's probably some things we could do better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an evolving process.
The natural tendency is, okay, I did it. It's over with. It's time to move on to something else. When actually
that's the start of it.
That should be the start of it, right? So the fact we've got the presentations built, we've done a number of these invitations. The more of that stuff you can kind of not worry about and know that it's just kind of taken care of, the more emphasis you can place on the follow-up. A lot of the follow-up is going to be back to the agent's responsibility that we're doing this with. And they really need to dedicate somebody that's going to be responsible for the sales process. But we can help you design the post-event follow-up. And really what we're looking for is three post-event touches. We also use systems that give us analytics on. So if we send some things out, we can actually look into the analytics to see who's actually opening the emails, who's reading through them. We try to embed some different links
see the
into
views
them.
Because like I said, we record all of them. You can see who viewed the actual webinar.
And so that allows your team, the sales team, to identify who the best prospects are. You can look and see who's sticking around for the entire, we make notes of that. So,
we monitor that as because we said we do all our webinars online. We monitor, how many people got on in the first 5 minutes.
Right.
And then compare that to how many's left in the last couple minutes.
Right.
We usually go to questions at the very end. You'll get a lot of people drop off at that point, but we try to check right before we go to questions what the number of attendees is on the event right before that.
Right. You can prioritize your work week and your ability to follow up with your best opportunities and not kind of waste resources on the ones that are not interested at all. I want to thank all of our producers for a great year in 2024. You guys have helped us have a great year. We're extremely excited about the opportunities that lie ahead of us here. We've done a lot of great things in this year, kicking off podcasts. We've helped a lot of agents achieve some big goals that they've had. And we're really excited about the new year and what 2025 brings. A lot of opportunities in the marketplace, and we're really looking forward to connecting with our existing folks and also connecting with some new people. We wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we look forward to connecting with you in 2025.
I'd like to echo what Jason said. We've really committed to this podcast and we've had a great time. We enjoy filming it, and hopefully we're bringing you some relevant content and helping you guys out in the field when you're dealing with your customers. Merry Christmas. And we look forward to seeing you here on the podcast and possibly in person and talking with you guys in 2025.
Yep. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.